Today's luxury becomes tomorrow's necessity, and we start to frame our stability and our success in our lives based on what we've grown accustomed to, not what we really need. You're not where you started. You're where you are. Now let's set the bar higher, because if you're not growing emotionally, spiritually, family, business, financially, physically, mentally, you're dying.
You have to acknowledge the space that you're in. You have to acknowledge how you got there, what abilities or capabilities you have to grow and move forward in that. They could have all the retirement, they could have their disability, they can live comfortably financially, but they don't know who they are. They don't know what to do with themselves anymore. And then they go into these deep depression, and we see that.
You're not in survival mode. You're still.
Welcome, everyone. Today is episode 7. Yeah, and today we have a very special guest.
Very special.
Our very first guest. And we have Jeremy Linquist.
Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy.
Yes, he is.
Jeremy.
Yes, he is the owner and financial advisor for Sky Peak Financial. So today, if you haven't already guessed, we are going to be talking about one of the biggest topics that affects literally everyone. Everyone. It affects everything in our lives, including mental health, but also relationships and businesses and everything else. So we thought we would bring in the best person that knows everything, which is about money, right? Money affects everyone in every way.
The green
Got no
dollar.
money.
So that would be Jeremy. And Jeremy, I've known for now a little over a year. I feel like, a little over a year. He is has become a friend as well as a business partner. He helps me with my side of the business and employees and things like that. I thought he would be a very good guest to have on here and talk about finances and how they do affect mental health. So again, welcome, Jeremy.
Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh my God. We have to have. Robin always has to do something
Always
special at the
something.
beginning. Made it rain with the money. Oh yeah, we are wearing green. We didn't even plan that. So
Well, you guys dressed the same and we dressed the same.
I know.
Absolutely.
It's pretty funny.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, the yin and the yang. Perfect.
Yes. So Jeremy, if you want, you can tell us a little bit more about you, or if you could just tell us, what you think about, finances and how that does, what you've seen in your side of the business, how that affects people.
The first thing I want to do is thank you three and Bella Mental Health for, one, inviting me to come on the show, and two, for the role that you play in this community. I've learned over the years that building any practice, any business, the initial drive that people have is, hey, I want to be in business. I want to make money. And as we mature in our view, we start to recognize that it's not about generating more patients in your case, or more customers or clients in our case. It's a responsibility. And what we've been able to identify creatively together and in discussions over the last few months is the powerful connection between the work that we do with financial counseling and the work that you do with mental health and behavioral counseling to make people's lives better around here. So podcasts like this, discussions like this, which really should be happening everywhere. They kind of are, and sometimes without guidance, right? So they're happening all over the community.
Absolutely.
And by creating some structure to it, by shining a light on some of these things, maybe hitting some of the key points, someone is going to find a path to feel better, to do better, to know something more than they knew before. And that's better. And that's really why we're here. So I'm thankful for the fact that you do that. And honored to be part of this community and having these conversations. So hopefully our reach will be great. And I am passionate about what I do. So and I've got all kinds of interesting correlations with mental health from my own experiences and from the folks that I work with. And I'm really excited to hear some of the questions. Looking for some challenges.
Oh, we will challenge you.
I know there's one coming from over here.
Yes,
right?
TJ.
But wait, can I just start real quick? Because I think that's the quietest us three have ever. He said thank you. We're all just like,
Yeah, like Robin, I saw your face.
Thank
You're
you.
like,
I was like,
you're like you were getting an award
no,
or something.
I know. I feel because it's nice because we work really hard. And I mean, we're good. But I mean, it's so funny because TJ and I just the other day when somebody says something, we're like, Oh, I'm sorry, what? Because we're so in it. We're so in it that we sometimes forget that people know us outside of our walls.
So
I know
our
you're out
rewards-
there, but
Our rewards change as we
Right.
mature. And the reward of being acknowledged and also being thanked.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's what makes me sleep good at night. The fact that someone
Yeah.
feels cared for, appreciated, I think in a larger sense, loved, is a powerful feeling. And you can suffer a lot of financial struggles and be completely at peace with some of that connection to deeply held values and pouring into someone else's life. So I love that.
Well, wouldn't you say, Jeremy, too, that like being that you are the financial guru and help people every day, and you have business owners and maybe just even individual people in the community that come to you and say, hey, like I need help with this, or I'm struggling, like, do you find that people already coming to you are already kind of having, struggling financially and not sure what to do?
So most of the people that we're working with have pretty good prospects for their financial prosperity. Like they're doing okay with the money. And what has started to happen in their lives is they recognize that the value it represented when they started and the value that it's expected to represent in the future might be different than what they thought. So there's like this lack of being like congruent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, some people do come to us and say, oh, geez, I'm going to have a rough landing here. I'm losing my business. We're getting divorced. I think I'm only going to get half, whatever it is. But it's interesting because those people are living in what we would consider to be in many ways, a financial survival mode. No one has to say, if you're hungry, find food. If you are exposed to the rain, go find shelter, right? So once you move to that next level, if you could imagine like a fountain, it's got the top and the water goes up to the top and then pours into the larger bowl. And then it pours over into the larger bowl, right? I always tell people we'll be a little corny and we'll build this foundation on trust, okay? That first bowl is stability. That happens after survival. You got enough money to buy the groceries. You got enough money to have a place to live, probably for the next month or two. Maybe you've got a little insurance in place to protect if you crash the car or something happens to you or you can't get to work or you're disabled or something. And as those pieces start to come together and you have this stability develop in your life, is when you start to have this space in your mind where you start to ask more questions. And I would say that that's where we're encountering people everywhere from that stability, which is the first realization that I'm probably going to be financially okay. And now can I do better? Well, the other question that comes in is, how should I be thinking about all this? And I think that's where the teaching on the financial side and the awareness of the true value of money start to intersect.
you nailed mental health right there. Did y'all catch that?
What?
Nailed it. So when you're talking about, well, first and foremost, I would like to say I was going to borrow it, but I'm just going to go ahead and pay you for that statement because I'm putting that in my teaching. I've never heard it said like that.
What did you
know-
say? Now
No one has to teach you survival.
Oh yes, that was a good yes.
Yeah.
I was like, my drop, what, like, because I'm always looking for ways to, but that right there. And then you said stability after that. And so when we go again, I'm always talking the logic limbic, you know, and it's like when they come into mental health, and of course, I mean, people are coming into mental health because, you know, life is overwhelming them. And so they're having a hard time thinking logically and having that space because they're in survival mode or, you know, the mental health. And so it's like once, you know, we could do that, build the foundation on trust because, you know, they're pouring into us, we're pouring into them. Then it's, oh yeah, okay, maybe that's what happened. You know, I'm not holding on to that anymore because that's just who she was, or that happened and it wasn't my fault. And I'm sitting here going, it's right there. Give me some nugs, man. That was awesome.
This is interesting. It's actually
Cool.
super hard to teach in survival mode. It's hard to retain because we're looking at I don't have the abundance that I need to be okay. I think that's where your expertise supersedes mine. Is like, okay, first things first, let's just acknowledge things are bumpy right now, right? Give yourself permission. And I think there's different levels of stability because if you can have a real tough thing happen, you know, a death of a family member, a loss of a job, maybe you're half a step away from losing your home, and then you can reset and we'll say, wait a minute, I've got shelter with a family member. What's that next step? I've got shelter with a friend. I have 60 days to ask questions because I don't know what foreclosure means. This would be the hard landings where someone needs a soft landing and say, wait a minute, you're not in survival mode. You're still ready, brace yourself, probably one of the most wealthy people statistically across the entire globe.
Yeah.
But your expectations, this is today's luxury, which luxury, having a condo, having a house, becomes tomorrow's necessity. And we start to frame our stability and our success in our lives based on what we've grown accustomed to, not what we really need. And as soon as you can acknowledge that the platform for survival is way lower than where you don't think you are, now we can learn and grow.
You know, what's funny is you caught on to the survival. What I heard him say too was acknowledgement, which we always say, like, we can't change what we don't acknowledge, right?
Yep.
And saying that you have to acknowledge that piece is huge, because that helping, I know in my head, like, connect the dots of, if you have to acknowledge the space that you're in, you have to acknowledge how you got there, and also, you know, what abilities or capabilities you have to grow and move forward in that. And I know that's one thing that you do when you help businesses, because I know when I first met you, I didn't even know I needed someone like you. I was just like, you know, going along, chucking along, you know, 4 years in, and your son approached me and told me kind of what you do. And I went and met with him and all the things I never thought about being a business owner, right? You just don't think. And then you help me, you know, look at things a little bit differently. And I think that's what a lot of us need. I mean, even in different spaces. So, like, although my take is from like a business owner and therapist, like you said before, like people going through divorce, you know, that's huge too, because that's, my gosh, we help people all the time with, going through divorce. And I know finances is one of the biggest things, that and custody of children. Those are probably the two hot topics. So finances, what would you say is one of the biggest factors of someone struggling, like, or mistakes that they make going through or stepping into the beginning of a divorce?
Well, it's interesting. So early on in my career, it was like, as soon as I met somebody, this is an opportunity to do business. We're going to open some accounts. We're going to do some commissionable transactions. And when someone came to us who had encountered that the relationship wasn't working, everything in there, they were evaluate, identify the situation, start to learn, and kind of reset. What are my expectations? Where am I going to live? What's going to happen with the kids? They don't know what they don't know, right? And then they're saying, great, and I also need to understand the finances. And here's the thing. The first thing that needs to happen is they need to recognize that financially, you just have to stop. Buy the groceries you normally bought. Make the car payments you normally pay for. If you're saving and investing in your retirement account, perhaps continue to do that through work. Set aside cash for emergencies. If it's an amicable situation, even though there's a relational strain that's not as what it used to be, then it's a little easier to do that. Sometimes with divorce, there's erratic behavior. Sometimes erratic financial behavior causes divorce. Like, he just keeps coming home with new cars, or she just, is out doing shopping or spending sprees, or vice versa, whatever it is, or you're going to renovate, but you never talk to me about it, right? So not being equally yoked with the finances. So by the time someone who's going through divorce is referred to me, it's not a time for financial change. It's not a time for financial learning, except for this is probably what is going to happen. Okay. The court is going to say, okay, great. You're going to get divorced. You're going to have to do a childcare, agreement, right? There's going to have to be all the assets essentially get frozen from any major decisions beyond a certain point. I'm not an attorney, but this is what we see and what we understand to have happened. I've been in the middle of helping these things before. And then depending on how long people have been married, the couple's been married, and, what's the disposition and who owns what, it's going to be kind of a halfsies thing that's probably going to happen. Maybe some income's going to shift back and forth, but that's all got to get figured out. So the first thing is recognizing that they're coming from a place of emotions, and that's probably the driving force there. Everything else that has to do with finances is almost like, let's maintain the status quo. We're not going to be able to impact change without me going into too much detail on the divorce and finances. You're not going to be able to go into too much detail on the finances beyond, let's not give it all to legal advisors if we don't have to. Let's find someone who's more resolution oriented and less, hey, let's fight. while we figure this out, I know it's going to cost you a little, but we're going to go and get that. We're going to go get that. And she's going to try to go get that. And so all of both your money is gone. Okay. So we try to stay aligned with legal advisors that we can introduce, 2 or 3 that are more results, like promoting more of a you go find your life and you go find your life.
Maybe like lighthouse resolutions.
Yes.
What about that? Little
Yeah.
plug. Look at
My lighthouse resolutions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love
it's pretty much in the depth of what's going on when people are getting divorced and kids and stuff. So, but I know your piece, because we always have like financial advisors or someone in there that's expert in that, because obviously that's not my wheelhouse. But
you can open the accounts and move the money after the decisions are made. But by and large, it's like, okay, I'm here. Here's about what's going to happen. Let the legal advisors tell you what's actually going to happen. Make your decisions, and I'm here. And our job is really to sit and wait, because that really is survival mode right there.
And we do a lot, and again, with family mediation and just family systems. And I work with a lot of people going through divorces. And of course, I love what you said, because the first thing I told them, I go, listen, there's no place for emotions in a court of law. I said, I'm just telling you, get it out here, talk about it here. But I'm also very much like you, basically, I just kind of give them a thing. Listen, not an attorney, but I play one on TV, but I really don't. But I mean, same thing. But this is pretty much what you're looking at, and the rest of it though is, again, don't change too much. Don't do, I'm just kind of like this kind of
lock it down and let's focus on where you're going to grow next.
But I'm not afraid to have a hard conversation with them either. And I think that, I'm like, listen,
Jeremy's not either.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I love that because I tell them, look, I don't have a dog in a race. I go, I'm here for you, and I think that's where the educating, this is what it is, and so let's just kind of, and I think sometimes even though they don't want to hear it, later on, I think they go.
But I think that can also alleviate a lot of mental stress, on both parties,
When you can also tell them, listen, 90% of the time you both get out of this alive.
Yeah.
90%.
You'll probably be okay.
90%.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
90%.
Hey, it's a good way to look at it.
It's like an A-, isn't it still technically?
That's why they keep it cold in the courthouses.
Yes. Well, I mean, I can only imagine, I know that we have seen a lot and we have patients who are struggling a lot with different things, but let's say in cases where they're struggling with divorce or just finances in general, let's say someone's heavily in debt or doesn't know what to do, or their business is starting to go sideways, how are you able to maintain your own composure? Because I know sometimes we have to do poker face sometimes, when they say something, even though internally we're like, holy shit.
There was.
I said the
All
S
I
word.
could see was Captain America. Language.
Nope.
We hit it every time. We're
This time it was without the TY.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
So this is interesting, right? So for one, most of the time when we're meeting with people, the things they think are problems aren't nearly as bad as they think they are. Most people that we have found that have businesses or financial lives that are anywhere between a business that's doing a couple $100,000 a year up to even 10, 15, 20 million dollars a year, got there by working real hard. But there were so many things about the financial picture that they just didn't know. You come in here with the spreadsheet, you come see us you bring your CFO, they usually don't have one, but they bring their other financial advisor that's probably going to get replaced soon. And happens all the time.
All the time.
And they lay their stuff on the table and say, listen, we'll get through it. We scramble, right? We're scramblers like in golf. I can get up out of the woods, I can get on the green, I can get in for par, right? And we look and we say, fantastic, congratulations. I know you took the drive to come down and see us. And I look under what they have. Because they start off with the initial feeling, well, I'm willing to have the conversation because I'm hurting and I'm struggling. The stuff they're concerned about probably isn't where the problem is. Okay? And then they flip back the other way to tell you how well they've got it under control because now they're feeling their oats. And they're still wrong. And we do not assume that the person that got to this level of wealth knows the things they need to know to be in the optimal position.
Literally, I'm like, listen, that's what I'm saying.
You're just getting lots of money here.
I want to buy another sandwich.
And that's what I'm saying. Basically, is what you're saying. You got to meet them where they are, but also because you know where they and that's the thing. They definitely go into that maladaptive. No, I'm good, and you start seeing the fence, you start hitting all this stuff, and meanwhile we're going. Yeah, but you gonna look under there? Because it's under there. There might be, it's smelling now, but we got to look under there.
Yeah. Well, and some of it, the positive of that is that I call it lifting your chin up. Because part of it is, wait a minute, I want to be, where do you want to be? We talked about this a little yesterday. Where do you want to be? And you start with the end in mind. A goal is the end to which all effort is applied. And in businesses, most of them don't have that goal. Well, bigger, 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 bigger. Well, what's the number? Because most people have no target for their business and they're hitting it with amazing accuracy, whether it's $50 million or $1 million, or they're just trying to get out of their own way and get going. And the fact is that we can say, wow, you're doing these things really, really well. And you're taking these steps really, really well. So first of all, let's give yourself credit. Emotionally, we've watched many of our most successful clients who are business owners pay themselves $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year while their business is making $5 million. And I said, not for nothing, but you just hired that person, that person, that person, that person, and that person, and they're going to take all that money home. They don't hire their future, which is making a commitment to put money away that they get back later, and in different types of ways to mitigate taxes, retirement plans, and things like that. They don't pay themselves. By the way, the value of your business comes from paying yourself and showing someone else that if they ran your business, they too could get paid. So we hit them in the chin and say, look up and look around. You're not where you started. You're where you are. Now let's set the bar higher, because if you're not growing emotionally, spiritually, family, business, financially, physically, mentally, you're dying. Okay? But let's set that bar higher and let's understand how you got to where you are. Was it just hustle? Did you learn a few of these things along the way? Or are you just good at your trade? Right? So that's an emotional release. I've had people go from 50,000 to 250,000 in like 2 or 3 months because it was there the whole time.
I know. I need that. So you guys realize
I need another $1 because I'm paying for that session too.
No. This is he just told me why I have a turkey neck because he's hit me so many times underneath my chin. Because he's always hitting me, what I'm doing wrong. But
it's actually more of a reminder of the things that you're doing right and an acknowledgement.
Look at that! Look at that!
Seriously,
I know. See, he's hit me again. He's hit me
too.
Oh,
that's right. That's right.
That's right.
No, but that you said that so beautifully.
Absolutely.
You really did.
Now, I will tell you because I've met you before, and it was funny because I will tell you, grew up, we were very, very poor, and then single mama, all the things. So money's always been I think we talked a little bit, and I was like, money was always something that kind of scares me because I've never had it. I don't understand it. I just right here. But as somebody who that is not one of their strong and had to learn it literally, I will tell you that I appreciate that you explain it in a way that's not about money.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And I think too, the way you explain it, and I think our listeners will appreciate it, is that it doesn't matter where you are or what you do, like, how to kind of verbalize how money can be important it's important to all of us. We all need it to survive. We have to have it. And I know one thing with us, like in our field, is being in mental health. Nobody gets into mental health because they want to be billionaires, because we just know that's not our field, right? And I think that's why, Robin has had issues. I know me too. It's like, it scares us a little bit because it's almost like we have like a very like humbling job and position. And I know the way you've verbalized finances for me and like growing the business, it's like you make it in a way to where I know that I'm doing it all, for the right reasons. This is helping other people. So if I grow my business, I'm in turn helping other people. I'm employing other people, giving other people the opportunity to do what they love too. So it's all about the shift of the mindset.
It's not a take, is it?
No.
So let me do a little something with the three of you. I want you to close your eyes for a minute. I know it's a small room, but I haven't done anything inappropriate yet. And I want you to tell me what you see in your future. And you're sitting across from, so let's pretend this is your meeting with your, at Skype with your financial expert. And tell me what you see in the future. Just fire away.
No.
Someone has to go.
I see my name, Bella Mental Health, being in multiple places, and other therapists and other prescribers feeling good about what they do without struggling financially.
Okay. Who are you with? Step outside the business.
Outside the business, my family, obviously. Everyone not stressing about money because, like Robin, I grew up stressing about money with my family. So them not having to worry, them being involved in some way.
So you see people involved in your life. You see people at peace.
Yes, peace.
What do you see, Robin, in your future? No matter what you say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be related to me or any of this direct conversation. What does the future look like when it's the way you expect it to be and want it to be?
It's just funny because one of my clients this week and I, we talked about this, which is so crazy. I said that I think as a little kid, I always had like this weird idea that like my purpose was big. And I think the platform that we are working so hard on right now is setting the foundation through Bella, and Nella and, her, just the people that we're meeting. And, TJ and I, we're definitely like sisters from a whole other, I don't even know where, but I just think that there has to be a shift and I'm not afraid to be in that shift, but creating more of like a holistic.
So you're serving, you're innovating in your career. What does it look like outside of the office?
My kids, my boys, all three of them have faced so much in their young lives. And
see the people you love. How are they doing?
Great.
Okay.
TJ, what do you see? What does your future look like? Who are you with? How's it feel?
Definitely family.
Yeah.
Because I'm a family girl. I see, financial wealth and security for my children.
What does that mean, though?
Just
what are you doing?
enjoying life.
So you're enjoying
each other.
life and enjoying each other's
Right.
relationships.
Excitement. It's joy. I'll say it's better than happiness. Just being, joyous. Just not just climbing the money ladder, but just being joyous. I see joy. That's what I saw.
Okay. Joy for you and the people that you care about.
And the people that I care about. And just helping others, like pull others up, because I'll just say this, I didn't come from money either. And money's always been like an issue, like, I start savings and then something happens, you got it. So I just see being comfortable, being joy filled.
So that sounds an awful lot like peace.
Peace. You're right on.
So let's all open our eyes. I peeked a couple times to see the deep thinking basis that I know Nella was peeking right from the beginning because she has to know what's going on.
I do.
I peeked a little in the beginning. I got serious because I saw myself like I saw like I'm like almost like a car, but like driving through like scenes of my life in the future. So I was like all in that part.
See, and I couldn't. I'm still in that. So that it was hard for me.
So here's the thing: we're in an office talking about finance and like mental health, but no one here said a bag of money is what they pictured. And what I wanted to highlight is whether you're a child or a kid just getting out of high school whose value comes very much from the people around them.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a gentleman when I was teaching at Vieira. I teach the seniors most years. I don't think I got invited. I guess I missed out this year somehow by timing. As they get ready to graduate. And I asked a room full of kids. I had 6 classes throughout the day. I said, "Where do you get your value from?" And he said, he stood up, a big kid. He said, "From everyone in this room." And what I did was I looked at and I was the financial teacher, but you only have an hour with each group. And I said, "You guys were valuable before you got to school, before you were even born. You were valuable along the way, before you played piano, before you took your first jog, before you hopped in the pool and swam, before you were scared, before you asked permission to go in the other room by yourself, before you even had a grin on your face. And I just wanted you to know that before you achieve at whatever it is or struggle or have failures along the way, you're already immensely valuable now." Okay? So the reason why I shared that in a financial conversation is because the things that people picture in their lives are tied to peace. They're tied to relationships. They're tied to inherent value without specific performance. One of my favorite quotes, and I don't know if it was from somebody else. I know Wayne Dyer often quoted a lot of other people, but it's, "If you are what you do, then when you don't, you aren't." And I wanted to tell all these kids, if you are what you do, then when you don't, you aren't. And I think that's where everybody starts, and they don't have to. So I gave these kids permission to be complete. Okay? When you closed your eyes and you pictured your future, you realize when we talk about it that money is not the goal. It's a medium of exchange for free time, for food, for a place to live, for the ability to do the things that we want to do with the people we care about the most at the times that we see the most fit to do them. That's what it is. And so when someone is just driving for money and more and more and more, and then they get it, then they jump off the roof. Because what they realize is they were so focused on the money that when they got it and they're sitting there with their legs swinging like Scrooge McDuck, that it wasn't enough. But most of us do learn along the way. It took me a very long time to learn that the value when I'm a child, when I'm in the midst of my career and my young life, and then I move into middle age, and as I get older, that the value is something far greater. And when you recognize that the value is already there, then now we're free to start to consider the behaviors that keep our rudder in the water during our careers, that strengthen our relationships while we're working and saving, and that we're building something that's not just for us, but for somebody else, right?
This question actually goes with with the piece you just did. How do you help clients who feel like their financial struggles define their work or success?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Kind of what we were just talking about.
Right.
It's interesting because that kind of, people wear it on their sleeve when that's the case. So that ties to something that you had talked to me about a little earlier, which is a little bit of a different wording of the same question, which is, that feeling of disappointment. And then when we're insecure about something, we wear it on our sleeve. Hey, I just want to let you know, doc, that I get white coat. So if you're going to take my blood pressure, it's going to go up, right? And then inevitably it happens, your blood pressure goes, see? Right? And then you kind of wonder, like, if we stop believing it, we stop saying it to ourselves, we stop saying it to everybody else. There are some wonderful people I work for who look around at the struggles people are having around them to make their current struggles acceptable. I am struggling right now in this way because that's what people do at this point in life, and that's just what it is. And so therefore, I'm one of the good people that's also struggling. When your self-talk, when your worldview is designed to justify your own failure, you'll always find it. And it'll come.
I know.
quick.
We need more money. She just gave you my money. Look at that.
So what we'll teach is, and what's not, weirdy manifesting, because it's like in the Secret, it had the person who looks at the necklace and then is wearing the necklace. It's not that one-dimensional, is it? Have you ever noticed the person that you offer the opportunity to? I mean, we influence and connect with a lot of people. I literally said to somebody once, if you bring your small insurance company, your clients, to my mortgage company that I owned years ago, I'll be able to bring you about $100,000 in commissionable business in the next year. I like you a lot. I'll give you all of it. What did the first thing in their head, what would it say if it were me? I would say, perfect, I like you, I trust you, I believe you, and I want to make sure I don't miss out on that opportunity. $100,000, wow, and I can help all your clients. Like, that's a great mix. But the phone never rang because someone offering you the opportunity, if it's outside of your familiarity with that could happen, he never called. And I called him back. Did you want the work?
Yeah.
Right? So with somebody I was talking to yesterday, he said, well, we waited weeks. You need time when you're in survivor mode to absorb and recognize where you are. No matter how good your therapist is, or no matter how many things you know because of the stories you could tell and the people you've already helped, I'm not going to learn until I'm ready. And I need time to look in the mirror before I'm going to learn and absorb and grow.
And how many times, I'm just sorry, that we say that to our clients.
Yeah.
You got to stop, pause, and look in the mirror before you can do anything else.
So in our industry, we say needs-based sale, needs to get paid, right? That doesn't that doesn't give a client an opportunity, a person, the chance to understand and then to be empowered to make a decision on their own behalf. So that intersection where a salesperson goes, you want to do the thing? And the next person who talks loses, right? That's what everyone was taught. They still get taught that today. When we say, tell you what, we don't have that intersection. We're going to come around a different way. If we've heard you, if we've understood, And sometimes the sale is the understanding of who you are, where you are, how you should think about things in a healthy way. You have to come to that realization. If I can't do it, I can ask your permission to advocate for you. Can I advocate for you? I have an associate at my office, Gregory, who's really good at framing that. We're going to turn that teaching about 2 degrees this way, if it's okay with you. I had a client that did not want to put insurance on himself because his family was going to be fine. And one of the first things that he said to me is, the main thing I want to do is make sure my family's okay if I'm not here. So these things didn't line up.
Yeah.
Everything was ready. He said, you know what, this is just not something I'm going to do right now. And I said, that is okay. And it's been a month and a half, and we had a call yesterday after a very short impromptu call a couple weeks ago. I said, you didn't hire me to tell you what you wanted to hear. You hired me to tell you the things that you didn't know yet and give you the opportunity to know them a different way. He said, that's true. I said, so at the risk of the boundaries of our relationship, I'm going to ask you permission to advocate for you in our next call. And this is what I said. With the money you have saved, your family's going to get about $8,000 a year for the rest of their lives if you're not here. Okay? And your business is going to, your employees and your customers are going to scatter if you're gone, which means that business is worth nothing. Okay? It would seem to me like it would be appropriate to allocate some small portion of your current and expected ongoing financial success in your business to buy a pile of an insurance company's money in the event that you don't come home. And then we sat quietly. What Greg said was about 10 or 15 seconds when he started to tell me the story of how he was brought up and what abundance meant to them, which meant just food to eat and a roof over their head, and how it just didn't seem like. But then in that time that he had been given, he met a couple people. It's your reticular activator, right? You buy the car, everyone has the car.
Everyone has a car.
Right?
Yeah.
He says, well, I met a couple people who had a similar conversation with other people. And they're 10, 15 years ago, and now they're living in the results of some of the decisions they made. And it's so interesting. It lines right up with what you told us we ought to do.
They just weren't ready.
That's right.
Until.
So you had to give that time. So when someone called me, this is the funny story I was going to tell you about earlier. It's funny because the client came out of the woodwork after 9 years and said, I told the other guy that I was working with on these other things in my life and in my business that I have a good friend who's taken great care of us over the years. Talk about perception. And so here I am talking to you because he wanted to make some changes. I was like, I haven't talked to you in 9 years, but I'm the guy, right? So that was his memory of the care we had provided him. But his wife got on the phone with me for the very first time 9 years ago. And she knew the purpose of the call was to discuss finances. And she said, you're going to get mad at me. I'm like, not until I learned how to pronounce her name. I didn't know her. And what she was leading with her insecurities about her finances. And I said, honestly, the things you think are bad are probably far better than you think. And the things you think you're doing great, you're probably screwing them up. Let's figure it out, right? So that's my long answer.
I love that.
So
Like
there's
all
some
I do,
questions.
I literally deconstructed everything that you were saying because every little piece that you said, like that you have to deal with in the financial aspect of people's lives, they also need to channel that same thing in other areas of their life. It's like, it really does all correlate. It all goes together.
Can I unpack something that you and I talked about recently?
Yeah, of
real
course.
quick. Nella and I started having conversations a couple months ago about, well, there's 3 main areas that we recognize where there's a really clear intersection between finances and mental health. That's when you're just getting going. That's when you can plant the seed and teach the young people that your finances, like you don't have to be a multi-gazillionaire by the time you're 20, but you can be, but you are valuable already. And there's that early life. And in the middle of the life, it's like, all right, cool. Like some things are starting to come in. Did I start some of the building blocks and the right thinking early? And now, how am I doing? Here's the importance of checking in, having an ongoing relationship, not just an account and some imaginary promise that you'll somehow have this wealth in the future that without some specific behaviors is never going to be there, right? Without some steps and some work and some proper thinking. That's the middle. What's going on with my career? Am I an entrepreneur? Do I own real estate? Am I kind of living in a simple career path where my priorities and my drive for lifestyle is different than somebody else? but I'm looking for peace based on my own definition, right? And then you have this other season of life that says, oh boy, here's the things I was told early on. Here's the steps I took. Here's the things that went well, and here's where I might have fallen short. How am I doing? Right? So actually there's 4. I'm getting closer to getting to the point where I want to live off of what I've built instead of what I'm making from exchanging my time for money, working, or running the business, which is a lot of the same thing. So now we retire. So these are all little points where it's vital. It's not just a good idea, but it's vital to have a checkup. What's going on in the head, right? Cabeza, as the guy used to say when I'm golfing, I was in the Dominican Republic, and every time I lifted my head on a golf shot, he said, cabeza. What's going on in your head? What's going on in your cabeza? At all these levels, because that reset can keep the ship sailing toward where you want to go. And then here's the interesting one, and this is what we talked about, Nella and I, was now I've retired. And that just might mean you've got financial freedom. You've got peace. Because you did some things that went well, some things that didn't, but now you're living off of your Social Security, you're living off of maybe the sale of a business, you're living off of a part-time job, maybe a spouse is involved, whatever's going on, right? And then you say, wait a minute, I used to spend anywhere from 8 to 28 hours a day, I know that's not possible, you only get 168 a week, thinking about how was I selling a product? How was I providing a service? How was I working for somebody and doing the things I was doing? And now I'm in this new place in life where this entire definition of who I am that I thought for most of us was what I did. Am I what I do, right? And now how do you keep the rudder in the water after you retire? So there's this huge this non-financial component to what is typically treated as just financial, is that I'm going to move into another season of my life. How am I going to spend my time? How am I going to feel valuable and purposeful when I'm not spending somewhere between 8 and 18 hours a day? For entrepreneurs, some people, they just never stop, 24 hours a day, thinking about the service that I'm providing or the product, the business that I'm running. There's a real gap there in the care that people are receiving. So we created a partnership between Sky Peak Financial and Bella Mental Health that we're pretty excited about. It's just kind of getting going.
Mm-hmm.
She's always dropping bombs. Like,
where we can do this thing,
Yeah.
right? Where our clients can be introduced. They have already some people kind of in line to have some type of regular conversation and couple it with the thinking that's tied to not really the financial decision, but the who are you and where does your time?
Well, their identity.
Where's your identity?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, when we've been talking about this for several months, it's more of like I said, even with today's topic, we need money. It affects everybody. And
You
so
gotta have it.
finance, we have to have it. Yeah. So it's like, but like you said, like when people are getting into that zone of like retirement and they don't know what to do with themselves anymore. I mean, we see that with our military too. Mm-hmm. A lot of veterans, when they spend 20, 30 years in the service, that was their identity. Mm-hmm. And then they retire. They could have all the retirement. They could have their disability. They can live comfortably financially, but they don't know who they are. They don't know what to do with themselves anymore. And then they go into these deep depression, mm-hmm. and we see that. Mm-hmm. So
they've got so much to give.
They do. And so that happens, I know, with people that you have business with. Every single time that they run into all these struggles now, Absolutely. Financially, with their family, personally, they don't know who they are anymore without their business or what they were doing their entire life. So now it ties in the piece, okay, that's where we come in.
There's a solution.
Yeah.
There's a discussion.
That's where we come in. We have to help them with their families, if they have divorce, if they have kids, what legacy they're trying to leave with their children. Like all that is important.
Absolutely.
So they can have actionable steps, to some extent, depending on the level of struggle, coping mechanisms. Mm-hmm. They can have real life examples of people who said, "Oh, great." My favorite is the story of the woman with the 20-year business plan at age 80. Like, let it rip. There's a company out in California that teaches real estate lending and lenders how to build a business by referral. It's a very loving organization. I won't give it a specific endorsement for this particular conversation, but they were impactful on me. And the owner and chairman has become somewhat of a celebrity in the real estate industry, has been for many years. So you don't call the company and say, "Hey, let me talk to Brian." I mean, you do. And they say, great, we'd love to see you at a retreat. We'd love to send you a little bit of information on how to get a coach. We'd love to get you on get you access and show you how to log into the podcast. So this woman calls the business to talk to the owner, Brian, and says, I want to talk to Brian. And they hit her with all those little standard deflection, right? Gatekeeper type stuff to help her and bring her in. And she says, listen, I'm 80 years old. I'm a real estate professional and I have a 20-year business plan. I want to talk to Brian and I want to talk to him now. And he took the call.
You're kidding.
Right? She probably could have called the White House. And she sold real estate until she was like 97 years old.
I love that.
So it's not too late to do the thing that you wanted to do. I mean, if it's Shaquille O'Neal and you wanted to be a jockey, it's probably not going to work out. You just picture him with his legs dragging on the ground. It's probably not going to work. Yeah. The horse isn't going to like it. It's going to lose every race unless you're kind of like Diesel. Unless you're mid-stoning it with the feet at the same time. So, but from a practical standpoint, you can explore and accept challenges in this next season of life that are every bit as impactful, if not even more so, than things ever were.
Can I ask you a quick question though? Because I think this kind of ties in. Because I mean, I'm hearing you and I love us and oh yeah, girl, we're gonna chat. So excited. But anyway, most of those people are not mental health people, age-wise. This is what I'm saying. You know, like generationally. If we go back to generation, how do we even get them to even have an idea of being able to ask for help, especially like I hate to say it, but the males, the older gentlemen who
stubborn. Okay, so who's their counselor now? Who said at age 60 or age 55, how are you feeling about your finances? Who said to them, if we weren't talking today, what do you think you'd be doing next? When the market does that, how does that make you feel? Do you think there's a solution? How would you feel if tomorrow you were ready to start retirement and it happened to coincide with a year where the market was dropping that whole year? That could be devastating, right? Yeah. And they start to learn, and that foundational trust gets built. The definition of their stability gets clear. Hey, wait, that also pours over into success. And if they're really retiring, they probably have a stronger level of financial security, right? And in that conversation, because it's not just a good idea, you'll hear me say this a lot, but it's vital, is, while we're doing this, you're going to have a whole lot of free time. Well, they've already said, yes, this is my name. Yes, this is my social security number. Yes, this is my date of birth. Yes, manage my money. By the way, let me introduce you to some very, very important partners of ours who have a program designed specifically for you because of how strong you are, how well you've done, and how valuable you are to the community that you live in, the people who love you. Would you be open to a conversation? Because I can't wait to see what you do next.
Yep, that's empowering them. Right.
Because that's what I'm saying. It's because I would
because I have this conversation and they're ready.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Because I mean, we talk about all the time. Even that's all I keep thinking about is, even it goes back to our interview when I came to the company and she said, who, and I said, I know it's kind of weird. I love to work with men because I'm such an athlete and I see these guys, and especially these older men that are so lost. They don't know what they can do. They don't know how to do it. And of course, I work with kids my whole life, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Like, these young mentor, big brother, anything. I'm always thinking about having a purpose, pour into these generations who are fatherless and everything else. But it's like, I can't touch them. I can't get to them. That's when I was like, God, to know that we've got a way to bridge that.
They're ready for that.
Thank you.
Well, and I think too is, like you said earlier, is that they have to be ready too. They have to be ready to look in that mirror and say, because like you said, the stubborn, I know many successful, either business owners or older men who are 5-10 years from retiring and they don't have a plan in place. And I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, just, it's fine, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, but they're not ready. And even if you bring it up, it's like, I got it. And it's like, we don't always got it. We have to, I always say this in my little tagline, check yourself, is because we are not the end all be all of anything. Just like when you guys came to me, I opened my business, I may have done it. I kind of shot out the hip, in the very beginning. I learned along the way. I made connections, mentors. Now you're teaching me about, the financial and the business side of things. I mean, we have to be able to go to the people that can help us and are experts in the field, because we don't know everything. And we have to be ready to say, Jeremy, I'm messing up. I'm effing up. Like, tell me, what do I need to do to fix this? And
so here's the interesting challenge for you. Someone's given you guys permission, your team, to discuss the most personal stuff in their life. And some of these people have great businesses. Most of them have wonderful families, and they just are navigating these different challenges. Right. So one of the key steps, and don't make it step 8 out of 8. Maybe it's step 3 or step 5. Okay. While you're helping them to solve and grow through some of these challenges and problems, there is a component called like the finances. Mm-hmm. There's a component that's the family. There's a component that's the business or how you make your money, your career. There's the personal, physical, and mental health. And there's your connection to deeply held values and a clear sense of purpose, which is whatever your spiritual life is. Okay, that doesn't mean church for everybody. Right? Sometimes it's sitting quietly in the woods, or some time where you stop and reflect on how do I serve the community that I'm part of and get outside of myself. But when you say it's not step 8 out of 8, it's step 3. You don't get to step 4 without it, at least having the conversation. We have a partner, right? Because sometimes the headache isn't coming from the head. Sometimes it's coming from somewhere else, right? And if you're unsure about this over here, you can frost that cake all day long, but it's not going to stay up, right? So I know where I come up with those, and sometimes they make sense. Sometimes I lay an egg, and I step back and admire my little analogy. Like,
listen, I love analogy. I'm all in.
You like that? You got it.
Yeah.
So you could do the same thing I can do, but remember, I say, fantastic, you are 90% of the way there. Because everything that you've been doing and all the wonderful financial things that you have, especially my wealthiest clients, you're like, let me give you some permission. Can I tell you a story? And I tell them a story. Let me tell you about a business owner that came to me that was in this position, that had a negative net worth or did this and that, or the person who got to retirement and sold the business and had pictures of all the adventures and all the things he had done in his life, but in the absence of permission, in fact, even a step to take to know what is next. When you're done kindergarten, it's time to sign up for first grade. When you're done first grade, it's time to sign up for second. Right. When you sell your company and you physically don't feel as good to go up on the top of the mountain heli skiing or go stay in one of your 10 houses. This is a specific example. Somebody.
It's not me.
You are.
That is not me.
You are.
We're like,
right? And it's at every level, right? Yeah. You get to that point where like, hey, I'm going to be okay. Like if we haven't had the financial conversation, or the financial strength is there, but we haven't had the mental conversation or the healthy mental health, personal time, physical connection to things other than work and career and finances, then we're not done. So I can put up the tent, we can put up 3 poles, right? And we can anchor all 3 of them, but if we don't have the 4th one down with an anchor in it, it's going to blow away. And if you want it to be strong, you got to do we got to do all 4. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think otherwise it's likely to blow over or tip over. Right? So we got to work together.
I love this. I mean, I guess as a final thought, because we're wrapping up here, but I mean, I wish I had all that money in front of you. You got paid today. Look at that.
Actually, I'm just going to let you know it's Miss Tina's. And so Miss Tina, I promise you'll get it back. We tried to buy some at Dollar General.
Because we split it between Family Promise of Brevard and We Venture.
Oh, I love that. Let's do a We Venture, Family Promise of Brevard, 2 of my favorite places. Definitely. But I guess just to wrap it up, one last question is, what would be your advice for anybody just kind of knowing that they don't know where to go or what to do with their financial status right now, but they know that they need help in some way? What would be like the first step that you think that they should take?
I think that planning, the intellectual capital of planning, understanding the different phases of your money and the seasons of life and who you are and how you feel, that's kind of this piece here, and what you have and your creativity and how you build wealth and the logic that helps you do it. Finding that intersection is vital. We're probably not going to do it by ourselves, right? And I'm not saying that it has to be our firm, but you've got to make a connection with somebody who is bringing a process, inviting for a relationship, willing to allow you to absorb and consider what that looks like, right? But that is capable, if you have a business or a career, of talking about the whole thing holistically, right? And then having an ongoing relationship, right? The best coaches have coaches. The best therapists.
Yes, we
are in
have
therapy,
therapists. Yes,
right?
Everyone needs it. Yes.
So we can always do better. We got the things we know, the things we know we don't know, and then we've got this big giant category over here called the things we don't know we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think that my best answer to that is start asking questions, start looking around, maybe get an introduction to somebody that might be bringing more of a holistic view to it. There's not a whole lot of companies that do it. It is something that we do, but it took a long time to figure it out. And we do have some capacity to meet more people. But I think that's it, is ask the questions, do some reading, watch some videos, listen to some podcasts, and make a connection with someone who specializes in helping you to navigate that, and start pivoting towards some type of a regular consideration for the relationship between what's important to you in your life and how your finances impact that. You'll find that you'll do better because you did that.
I love it.
Good to know. Great advice.
Jeremy, yes, thank you. And one thing you said in there too is it doesn't matter what season, all the seasons of life, like you have to consider that. It doesn't matter if you're 20 or 50 or 80, like your person that you said. It's just, we have to consider all seasons of life and everything that life is going to throw at us too, because we never know. So we always have to plan for that. So
whether you have a little or you have a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You probably have more than you thought you did when you think you have a little.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about massive wealth. And it's not about other people's opinion. They're none of our business.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Right?
But I'm glad you said that, and I know we're wrapping up. I'm glad you said that though, because I know people, been one of those people, probably still there. Sometimes that think, okay, well, I have $5,000 in the bank, or I have $10,000 in the bank. Is that enough to go and seek out a financial planner? Because sometimes people think, oh, that's not enough, but you can work with any amount.
Here's the beauty of it. The driving force behind financial fruits is how you're thinking about it and how it aligns. Your best definition of success comes from you. It's okay to see other people's success and maybe form your view of fruit, but it's like someone says, like, Nella, you have to take this step with your finances because it's the right step. That's just features and benefits. I'm going to buy the TV with picture in picture. Okay. If it doesn't align with who you are and what's important to you at any level, then it's not good advice. Right? So you have to be able to find the way to think about things properly. And then the steps you take with 5,000 or 50 million becomes vivid. Then you know what to do. And the next thing you say is not, you want to do the thing. It's, what's next? How do I grow from where I am? And until you acknowledge where you are, understand how to think about things properly, framed by who you are and what's important to you, and what you close your eyes and see, that at that point, when you do that, the steps become obvious, no matter how much money you have.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys. I really love it.
Oh, thank
You got me all.
That
fired
was
up.
a whole lesson. I mean, you had the professor all quiet. I was like, how was?
I'm like, I didn't ask
That
a lot.
was well,
First of
it
all,
was
I'm
good.
learning too.
Oh yeah.
I really am. So that's why I was like, quiet, taking it all in. But yeah, I'm learning.
Thank you
And,
so much, Jeremy,
yeah.
for being our first guest today.
Our first
So-
unhinged guest.
I think I got unhinged.
You're a little unhinged.
I already was unhinged. I just wanted
Welcome
to your
to
show.
the unhinginess.